So still coming.
Yeah, getting to be a pretty good crowd.
Yeah.
How many people are we expecting about?
It varies depending on the topic. I think we've maxed out in the 40s. So nothing too crazy.
Considering that I actually found out about this meeting in the first place, and I'm guessing it's probably not the first one, that probably means that more people know about it now.
Yeah, I think it's like slowly kind of spreading. Like our numbers have gradually been going up. So I think,
it's probably going to be more like 60, 70, 80, I'm guessing, because like, most of the time these things don't get talked about on Facebook, only in the Slack from what I understand, and haven't been in the Slack really. So I've only been seeing things on Facebook, which often don't show up on there,
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, I do always post to Facebook, but if depending on how your feed goes, it may or may not show up in your feed,
Oh, that too, yeah. Although I don't know why it wouldn't, because I'm in a lot of different Yang Gang groups, and a lot of my friends list are Yang Gangers, so it's like, why wouldn't it? Unless I'm being censored, unless they're being censored from my feed on Facebook or something.
Yeah.
Are you going to be live streaming on? Are you going to be live streaming the YouTube live stream on Facebook?
Yeah. So we're streaming live on YouTube. Right. And we will be live through YouTube shared to Facebook.
Okay. Yeah,
unfortunately, we don't have both of the people here tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I usually share, do a live party via Facebook, so just to raise awareness. So I'm just waiting for the Facebook one to go live.
Let me know when we're ready to go, Yenny. This means I'm going to be talking even faster than normal, guys. Apologize in advance.
You're good.
Oh, by the way, before too many people arrive and before we get started, there are some stuff I've written up that I think that you guys might find useful or interesting. Should I link that in the chat?
You could do it in the chat or in our Slack space, because if you put it in the Slack, more people will get it and it'll be there for longer.
Just do both then?
Yeah, you can do both. Go for it.
Yeah, gotcha. I'll do that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Slack's good because it keeps a record of things. So if people click on it initially and it turns out to be really useful, they can go back and find it later really easily if it's in Slack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I still need to introduce myself on the main Slack because I joined it a while ago and then I forgot my login information, I think, and then I got distracted by other things, and so.
How we doing, Yenny? How are we doing, Yenny?
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting.
Okay.
We are up on Facebook and YouTube.
So we're going. All right. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody to our Humanity First Movement Sunday Night Live. I apologize for the slight delay, technical difficulty delay, and now my very rapid speaking to make up for it. Because we have a really awesome, not just guest, but group of guests tonight. We have Tully, founder of the Math Movement, and the canvassers who have been basically, out there every day fighting the good fight in the Math Mansion down in Georgia. And they will be expanding that. So it'll be really good to hear some of their stories and find out how we can support them. I'm just going to go through a few upcoming events. We have a brief update of what's happening in California because they've always got a lot going on over there. Quick little update about some actions you can do to support cash advocacy right now, Georgia, and then we'll get into our AMA. And of course, we just kind of go into a hang after all of it. If you're unfamiliar with us, we're the Humanity First Movement. grew out of the Yang Gang volunteers after he withdrew from the campaign, and we were all itching for a new cause to dive into. So we're kind of leading the charge on a lot of the policies he championed, doing some of the research into things like the American Scorecard, trying to build up some state chapters and get organized, and also just like hanging out with each other because we like each other. If you want to get involved, you can join us in the Slack. We have an orientation video on YouTube, a community calendar. If somebody can link to these slides in the chat, all of these links are clickable within the slides. So you can just open up the slides and click on whatever you want to get to. There's also our kind of sister Slack, the Humanity Forward Rapid Response. They host some great humanity hangs. One of the hosts is actually on the call here, Nikki. And you can watch our previous recordings of these events on our YouTube channel there. Our social media handles, check us out. And some of our upcoming events. You're going to hear more about this when California talks, but this is coming up immediately after us, is kind of a reflection on the 2020 election and lessons learned. We have a book club on Tuesday. We're looking at the politics industry. This is a really great book, but if you don't have time to read the book, there's also a Yang Speaks where he interviews the author, Catherine Gell, and it's a fantastic Yang Speaks. You can listen to it a little over an hour, come in and have a conversation about it with us. Our partner organization, Income Movement, has a fantastic meeting on Tuesdays that we highly recommend you join. They're really leading a lot of the charge on cash advocacy and basic income right now. They've got some great plans and a kind of blueprint for the future happening. So highly recommend those meetings if you haven't gone to them already. So we're going to have a quick update from California. Are you on the call, Jess?
Yeah. Hey, Megan, thanks for the introduction. We're really grateful to be here and give everyone a little bit of an update on what we're doing in California. So in terms of us as an organization, we're really focusing on long-term growth. Andrew dropped out of the race almost a year ago. It's wild. Right after that, we went straight into helping these candidates who are on down ballot races try and cross the finish line. And it's just been go, go, go. And finally, we feel like we have a little bit of time and space to really focus on making our organization the strongest it can be. So a lot of what we're doing right now is focusing on what we want our org structure to look like, what we want our core team to be doing and focusing on. Stuff that's not necessarily like the sexiest in progressive politics, but definitely is necessary so that we can succeed as an organization in the long term. In terms of some initiatives we're also working on, we have Evan Lowe, who reintroduced the Cal UBI bill this year, and we're gonna, do whatever we can to help their office. We have a meeting with them next week to coordinate on how we can best help push that along. We are going to do a series of events called Policy Nerd Nights, and those are going to be substantive talks from leaders in different sorts of policy areas where we can all learn and then have an interesting discussion afterwards. So keep your eye out for some of those. We're hoping to start rolling those out in January or February of 2021. We also want to keep it fun, like GPS said. So we're going to be doing some game nights and hangs next year. We are trying to do a really fun trivia night in Q1, so probably February or March. And I have a friend who's been doing really fun Zoom trivia since the beginning of the pandemic. So we're going to try and use that model and have it sort of be Yang Gang trivia, not all politics, but enough so that OG Yang Gangers are going to have a little bit of an advantage. So make sure to assemble your teams and keep your eyes out for that announcement. We are working with a nonprofit in the Southern California area to do a UBI pilot. And we're really interested in, making sure that we're able to help people, but also ensure that, we're providing proof of concept so that we can push for other UBI trials and then UBI as a policy in the state and in the country. We're also doing candidate incubation and support. So we've got a lot of folks in California, and that means there's a lot of races to run. So, we have people running for, positions in the Democratic Party. And then we also have some folks who are looking for 2022. So if you know anyone in California who would be a good candidate or who is thinking of running and you think they might align with us, please let us know. We'd love to do whatever we can to help them along. For our upcoming events, like Megan said, we have our Lessons Learned event tonight. We're so excited about this. These candidates are just amazing people and they really gave it their all and they were fighting really tough races. So we're going to hear from them about their experiences, their reflections, and what we as volunteers can do to better help them next time. And we'll also hear from a couple staffers, former staffers from HF who are going to give us a bit of perspective on what it was like from their end and sort of what lessons they learned. And I guess in terms of leadership, we meet every other Thursday. Those meetings are limited to California core team, but if you ever have something that you need to present to the California team, feel free to reach out and we can give you an invite to that. We'll try and keep everyone posted about what we're doing. I'm happy to take any questions if that seems appropriate, Megan.
If anybody has a really burning one, we can kind of go through it quickly, but I think we could also do like some questions in the chat.
Yeah, I'll stick around for a couple minutes. I see GPS is here too, and he's qualified to answer questions. I have to pop off in a bit to do the lessons learned prep, but I'll post an invite link to that in the chat. And if you guys want to come, that would be amazing. It'll be really fun.
Did anybody have like a burning, dying question that wouldn't suffice being answered in the chat? Just to check before I move on. Awesome. Highly I'm very much looking forward to popping into this event later, even though I'm on the East Coast, so it's very late for me, but hopefully I'll get to check out some of it.
Thank you.
Anything else, Jess, or we good?
No, that was it. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for coming on and letting us know what's happening in California. Another quick little piece we have is just some of the cash relief advocacy that's happening right now. So there's a few different actions you can take. Christine, are you available to give the quick rundown?
Hello, can people hear me? Because my audio that's coming in is like real glitchy right now.
We can hear you. I can.
Okay, hang on a second. It will come back on here. All right, sorry about that. I had my tech guy over here looking at my computer while you were all talking.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm just going to recap some of the stuff that's going on to push for cash relief. A lot of this is being spearheaded by Income Movement, and they kind of have the idea of doing a few phases where right now what they want to do is push for cash relief for the pandemic. And their big push is to make it reoccurring so that it's not just a one-time relief package. And the thought is that if we're able to make it reoccurring, that helps pave the way to kind of lay some groundwork for people wanting UBI and being more open to that. So they have a couple of different actions that you can take toward that end. And you guys may have heard that it's looking like Congress has reached a deal for cash relief that may be passed either Monday or Tuesday. And right now what they're talking about doing is a $600 relief check for one time. So even if that does kind of transpire this week, which would be good, there's going to continue to be action to kind of push for the reoccurring payments and for larger payments, which potentially will be possible with the new administration coming in. So speaking of the actions that you can do to kind of push for that, there's a petition that is being circulated by Black church leaders that is asking for more than the 600 and for it to be reoccurring. There's this letter that you can send to your representatives, and that letter is it's an online action. So it was written by Income Movement, and they actually update the contents of that letter ongoing. So as the situation evolves, If you sign it today and then you go in a week later to send it again, it may have updated information that's kind of relevant to how things have changed. When you go to send the email letter, it only allows you to send it to your specific representatives. So the representatives typically only want to hear from their constituents. So it is really important that part of your action for cash relief is to spread the word about doing this. So making sure to contact other people you know, especially if you know people in other states, to kind of engage them to also be taking the actions, because that helps us hit more representatives and be kind of more comprehensive. Income Movement is saying that you can send this letter like repeatedly, so you can sign it every day. And they just recommend that when you go in to do that, you change the subject line of the email so that it's a different subject line every day. And if you do that, it won't get filtered out and they'll get a new letter every day. There's also, of course, always the option of calling your representatives. Usually you don't get a real person and you just leave a message. And you can also fax your representatives from your device. So some of those actions, you can get information on how to do them through this Cash O'Clock campaign. So the concept with Cash O'Clock is it's 3 p.m. every day. And it's the idea is to give you a set time when you can expect to sit down, take 10 minutes, and go through your actions for the day to push for cash relief. It gives you all the links that you would need to take those actions. And then we have on the slide also the Zoom link for Income Movement, which has a meeting every Tuesday. And Humanity Forward also has volunteer positions, and Connect with Your State. Yes, so we're trying to launch state chapters. And I think that the more that we can be organized on a local level, the more leverage that we'll have. This Bail Out the People link is, that's a website that is connected to Income Movement. So Income Movement, as I said, their first phase is cash relief, and then they're going to move toward UBI. Bail Out the People is specific to cash relief. So it's a website that has specific information for cash relief. And the last thing that I will say is that probably most of you are on Twitter. I know a lot of Yang Gang is Twitter based. But if you're not on Twitter, there are actions that take place on Twitter as well. So there's a team of people who brainstorm hashtags to trend and then try to get them trending at set times. And those hashtags are also announced in the Cash O'Clock daily emails. And Income Movement also wants to make sure to give props and recognition to representatives that are actually getting on board. So a lot of the way that people are able to do that directly is through Twitter. So that's my recap.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Those are all the different things you could be doing. I highly recommend that Cash O'Clock email for people like me who are very forgetful. You'll get reminded every day. And then I'll go very quickly. You know, we always talk about Georgia. Until January 5th, we will always talk about Georgia. If you want to find things that you can do in Georgia, best place I'd recommend is the ga.hfmovement.org daily site. They're always curating different events every day that you can get involved locally or from, you know, elsewhere, as well as, you know, Daniel for Georgia, Fair Fight, the OSOF, and the Warnock campaigns. Deep canvassing still going on, probably the best phone banking event you can participate in. So highly recommend. Their dates are up at the top there, as well as the link. It's put on by People's Action. And then there's a letter writing party on Mondays from 5:30 to 7:30. There's 2 more letter writing parties coming up. I actually think I have to update that bit.ly at the bottom Sorry, I forgot to change out the slide, but I will put that in the chat shortly. Or Christine, could you post the proper bit.ly links for the December 21st and the December 28th letter writing part? So if you're terrified of the phone, great option for you, like me. Hate the phone. And then tomorrow there's a youth day of action. We had Daniel Blackman on 2 weeks ago and he was really awesome. So if you remember that and you want to support that, they're doing a virtual phone bank. So you don't have to be a youth to participate, but it is a youth advocacy day. So these phone banks are being run by young organizers in Georgia. So d4ga.us/youth to find out more about that, as well as all the socials for the HF Georgia chapter. So you can keep up to date on what's happening. Recommend following them all. And finally, we are to our main event, which is the math movement. Is Tully on the call yet? If not, I'll send it to Colleen to give an introduction.
Everybody, sorry about
there we go.
delay just
Oh,
now. Hi.
Tully is Colleen. Interesting.
Hold on.
I'm here too. Hey.
Howdy, y'all.
So I did put a few pictures and stuff in here, as well as the donation video. Would you like me to play the video first, and then let you give a little intro?
Yeah, show
right.
off what we've been doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, here we go. Can you hear it?
Are you ready to take a vote? Yes? All right, thank you.
No, I'm trying to go to the next slide. Sorry, guys. Here we go. So welcome Tully and Colleen and the rest of the math movement canvassers that are with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course.
Do
you want to give a little introduction of what's happening and what you've been doing?
Yeah, sure. Let me first start out by introducing myself and the math movement. My name is Tully, as many of you know. And with the math movement, I know our movement is very diverse and there's a lot of people pulled in by a lot of different things. I felt that, income movement was super focused on UBI, but for me personally, although I love UBI and I want and support UBI, what really brought me on is when I discovered that there's this guy with a math hat talking about thinking about problems and solutions by the numbers. And I was like, that's what I want and what I've wanted for so long. So the math movement exists to promote a math-based politics, which, just as I said, is a politics focused on problems and solutions by the numbers. We want to just turn the volume down on the culture war and turn the volume up on the ideas. And I really think that there's a huge appetite for that, particularly in younger generations, because we're looking around and we're like, this isn't working at all. This culture war nonsense isn't serving anybody. We need to solve problems. And we want a politics that's more to the point. Let's stop enough of this just emotional tickling our lizard brains. I'm done. I want to solve problems. So I know a lot of people are passionate about the same thing. that's what the Math Movement stands for. It's promoting a math-based politics. And the way that we aim to do that is by resurrecting the art of classical organizing. And I'm not talking about the stuff that often we see on sort of the far left in many cases. I'm talking about the stuff that civil rights leaders did in the 50s and 60s, because that stuff works. Our motto is strength in numbers. We believe that in order to win the war on normal people, we're going to have to build strength in numbers. And the way to do that is by organizing. So that's what we're about. And that's what you see here in this photo is we organized this house. And I mean, I want to step back for a minute and let Colleen maybe give her thoughts on what it was like. But it was more than just knocking doors and canvassing. We were out organizing the community, trying to mobilize the locals to come and work with us and knock doors with us. And we're incredibly proud of like the work we've done and sort of it's a proof of concept of what the Yang Gang can do.
Thank you.
Yeah, Megan, have you got any questions pulled in yet? Or
I can't actually see the chat. I didn't know. I wanted to give you all the opportunity to introduce what you're doing, give a little bit of a rundown. Anyone who's a canvasser with you on here, maybe introducing themselves very briefly.
Daniel and Talia are on the call, so I see.
Awesome.
Talia, you introduce yourself?
I'm sure Talia and Daniel will jump on at some point. But we had 10 people total come from kind of up and down the East Coast. And we got the operation going. And at first it was just how many doors can we knock per day? And then we start bringing truckloads of signs back from Atlanta. And come to find out, we were the main grassroots force in Columbus. We're talking about Georgia's third largest city. And there was nothing there. There was just this huge vacuum. And we filled it. And we became the main point of contact for the OSOF campaign and for the coordinated campaigns, launching canvassing events. I think it got up to like 4 to 5 canvassing parties per week where we're bringing in locals.
Yeah, probably 98% of the signs in Columbus we dropped. We got very competitive with our sign dropping game.
Oh yeah.
We had to go to Atlanta. It was 2 hours to go pick up a truckload, literally 400 signs filled the bed of Tully's truck. It came back and within the week took up another 400 signs. And with Warnock campaign, they were selling their signs. They were taking money for it. So we actually I posted on the Georgia Reddit, just like pleading, like, does anyone know someone from Warnock, who can help us like get signs? Like people are asking for them, when we're at their doors. And someone posted that, someone took a screenshot of what I posted on the Georgia Slack and took that screenshot and posted it to Twitter. And then we got our Warnock signs, 400 free Warnock signs to dazzle Columbus with.
Nice.
I want to add to what Colleen is saying, and really by being there in the community, we were able to sort of like network and field opportunities as they came to us. But a couple of things that I really want to underline or underscore are, number one, the Math Mansion is a replicable model. It's a brand. We're going to do mansions again and again and again in strategic locations for strategic races. Who knows? Maybe there might be one in New York sometime soon. And the other thing that I want to say about Math Mansions is it's not just you're there knocking doors during the day. During the evenings, we also have organizer trainings, and we're there building capacity. And I think that something you'll hear from a number of the people who are at the mansion is that they learned a ton about how to organize, how to build a movement. how to make an impact politically. And that's what we're all about. We're about capacity building. We want to do meaningful work right here, right now, like wherever we can. But in addition to that, we want to think ahead and plan for the future. So we're always building capacity, training people, and trying to kind of replace and multiply ourselves. And I've been thrilled with that, because of the 10 people who stayed at the house, we've had like 6 who've continued to stay really closely involved with the math movement. And they're taking leadership positions in various ways, and learning to organize. And now we're getting ready to open 3 more math mansions for the time period right after Christmas, right up until the election, for one final push. So yeah, it's really exciting because donations don't just support knocking doors then and there. It's also training people so that they could do something like organize a math mansion in the future. So it's investing in the future of our movement.
So I did just pop up on the screen real quick, again, the photo of y'all with Yang, because it's great, as well as the link to the donation link in order to help support the Math House movement. And if you want to apply to be in that last segment of the Math House, there's a link for that as well at mathmovement.org/canvas. So I'm going to go
beautiful. That is the link.
and we'll also post in the chat, but for now I'm going to go off screen share, and then we'll get Talia and Daniel to give a quick introduction and then take questions and try to start a conversation. That sounds great. Talia, are you there?
Daniel and I are both on.
Talia's here, yeah, there she is.
Yeah, Daniel and I are both here. Great introduction from Tully and Colleen. Tully was our first main organizer and pulled us all in, but I can confidently say that having been at the first Math Mansion for what started off as 1 week and eventually turned into almost 3, I saw people really develop their own sense of independence and take these organizing lessons to heart. And especially hearing that it was an oral tradition really is able to place you directly in that history when you're actively learning from someone who's willing to, give you these really one-on-one lessons. And I think that's the reason that, 60% of an organization wanting to take leadership roles, if you have any experience in corporate structure, you'll know that that's a very high proportion. And I think that's a testament to how the math movement is organized and how it puts its people first.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Talia.
Daniel, are you there?
Hi. Yeah, I think Tully's absolutely right. And hi, Tully and Colleen.
Hey,
oh my gosh, guys, it's been a while. Listen, I had a great time in Georgia. I just got back home, but something big that Tully talked about just a few seconds ago was about building capacity, which is a huge thing that we kind of kept as a mantra while we were there in Georgia. And so the big part of that is, okay, there's 2 people coming in who've never even done canvassing before. You've had no experience with it. All we come in with is passion and excitement and a desire to make some change in Georgia. And so me and Max, shout out to my friend Max, who was a fellow beginner on this journey. And he was brave enough to come out and just, take the chance. And we were taught everything we know from the awesome people at the Math Mansion. We started off strong, just going door to door, talking to as many people as we can and just working on making a positive change. And it grew into something much bigger.
Hey, Daniel, remind me again, how many doors had you knocked on before you got in my car and drove with me 20 hours to Columbus, Georgia?
Oh, man. Okay, so it was 0 doors before I got to Georgia. And then I think maybe let's say day 2, I was averaging about 70 to 100, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel, this is my first time watching you speak beautifully. I think I almost want to nominate him spokesperson or something. It's really fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So if we're going to open the floor up to questions, I'm going to ask for, you can either raise your Zoom hand, which means go into participants, and there is a little hand that you can click. I can't see it because I'm host, but it's a raise hand button and it'll pop you up to my queue. Or you can also write in the chat Zoom hand. But while y'all do that, I'm going to ask the first question that came in through the chat, which is kind of just a logistical one. Where will those additional math movement mansions be in Georgia?
Absolutely. The locations that we've selected based on where we can do the most with $1 and where it's most needed or underserved are Savannah. We're going to keep one house in Columbus. And the third one, help me out,
Augusta.
is Augusta. Yeah. So we got good coverage of the whole state.
Awesome. And I also saw a question in the chat earlier. Is are you going to offer like online organizing training, online training?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Math Movement actually won a $5,000 contract with Humanity Forward, Andrew Yang's organization, to put together a curriculum on organizing. And that's kind of what we gave people a sneak peek of at the first Math Mansion. We did this organizer training. It was sessions distributed over many different days. But yes, we are going to have an online course. So it's scalable. And Colleen was just asking me today. She said, "Hey, can we have like an audio only version?" And I was like, "Absolutely, we got to do that. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to consume." And it introduces ideas about ideas and also a whole bunch of practical skills that you can use as an organizer, from soup to nuts, like the very first steps to really working with people, recruitment, engagement, messaging, persuasion, and like there's so much in there. So yeah, there's going to be a curriculum online is the short answer. And look for that. That should be coming out in January. So keep an eye out, like middle to late January.
Great. Thank you. And our first question is going to come from Latha.
Latha?
Hi there. Yeah.
Oh my God, Latha.
You remember me. So yeah, I actually don't have a question. I wanted to make a comment. I'm from Ohio, and I'm one of those people that Tully referred to when he said that we had people kind of coming from up and down. And that was me. I drove from Ohio to Georgia a couple of weeks ago and spent a couple days with the folks at Math Movement. And it was an amazing experience. And I just wanted to really encourage people that if you don't live in Georgia and you have the means, and the time to take off work, please go and volunteer with the Math Movement. I've done grassroots volunteering for a very long time. And it was just really fun for me again to reconnect with the Yang Gang, because I just hadn't done that since February. It was really nice. And they're very organized. They use the minivan app for those of you who've used it before. Thanks, GPS, whoever you are. Oh, you're from, oh my gosh. I'm sorry. If you look in the chat, he's like the Storm Gang. What he's referring to is I went to Iowa for Yang Gang, and I was in the Storm County or whatever it was, and so he remembers me for Storm Lake. Yes, he remembers me from there. Oh my gosh, it's really nice to see you. But yeah, so it just was really nice to connect with the Yang Gang, and I really wish that I had the ability to I was so sad when I left. Like I would have wanted to stay for a long time, but I just wanted to recommend and just, I guess, really encourage people, if you have the ability, the time, the means, et cetera, go and volunteer with them. And you don't have to be there for 3 weeks like some of the people were, because I wasn't, and I still had a great time. Still, knocked on a lot of doors. I had great conversations with Georgians. They're very smart. They're on top of it in Columbus, at least in Columbus, Georgia. They're on top of it. I mean, you need to earn their vote. These are people who actually care about and yeah, Tully's nodding his head because he's probably had the same experience. These people are not pushovers. they want to know why that they should vote for who we're saying to vote for. I mean, they want reasons. They ask good questions. I had really good conversations with a lot of voters, and they're on top of it. They're on top of it. They're paying attention. So you go down there and canvass in Georgia, you will be doing a lot of good work because it will matter. And just help people make a plan to vote and blah blah blah. It's really worth it. So I just wanted to just put it out there that if people are wondering, like, what is this math movement? Like, who are these people? They're good. They're organized. They're very welcoming. And I feel like I made a whole new group of friends, and I really, really miss you guys. I wish I was back there.
We miss you too, Latha.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you so much for the shout out. For anybody who is interested, I do want to say that the link is mathmovementmvmt.org/canvas. And Latha is not just, she's not an armchair quarterback. She drove, was it 12 or 14 hours? And
I broke it up over 2 days. It was my second stint in Georgia. The first time I did it the whole way without stopping, and that was a mistake because I was totally like after that I was like, this time I'm like breaking it up. But it was a total of let's see, the second time was like an hour less than my drive the first time. It was like a total of 12 hours, but I broke it up from 4 hours one day and then 8 hours the next day. And I did the same thing on the way back because that whole driving 15, 16 hours the whole way the first time was, that was just like, I'm too old for this. So I broke it up into 2 days this time.
Well, on the level that Latha stepped up, I think if we all tried to step up in that way and decided this is our problem, we're going to do something about it. This is a winnable race. But it's tough. It's really, really hard. I've heard the statistic that Democratic turnout for runoff races tends to fall by about 25 to 30%, whereas conservative voters are much more, they're more, how should I put it? They turn out. And so we're going in at a disadvantage. And on top of things, we've got this voter suppression system where the registration deadline has already come and passed. So people who find out about it now, they can't register to vote. So we have to start doing outreach to conservatives, it seems to me, to really maximize our chances. And the Yang Gang is like the best in the world at that. So I really want to get some Yang Gang out there. If y'all are thinking about it, sign up and come join us and knock doors in Georgia. There's so much work to be done, and you could literally leave your fingerprints on history. You could watch the results roll in on the night of the election, and if we win by like 500 votes, you'll be like, we did that, the Young Gang did that, Math Movement did that. So don't stand on the sidelines, come get involved. And if you can't get involved, then make a donation. We need funds to support everybody and to get people out there. And for that, you can donate at mathmovement.org.
Awesome. We have another question from Tyler.
Hi, Tully and the Math Movement.
Hey, Tyler.
Hello. So I just wanted to piggyback off a point that you answered earlier about online organizing. A couple of us down here in Georgia were able to get a call together with a bunch of capable Yang Gang talking best practices for canvassing. It seems that it would be convenient and if not inevitable for those efforts to be consolidated. And so, just wondering if that was something that Math Movement would want to be interested in.
Yeah, we would love to connect, Tyler. What's the best way for here's one thing you could do is if you have Twitter, you can follow at Math Movement, MATH and just DM us and let's connect. I would love to talk. If y'all have done some work with sort of optimizing for like the best possible interaction on the doors, hit us up. We've done some of that work too, but it's two heads are always better than one.
Awesome. Yeah. We hosted a call last Sunday and we were able to, like I said, it was this interesting like opportunity I saw with consolidation within Yang Gang, but also like building out the coalition of people realizing that Yang Gang are real people. And so there were like Elizabeth Warren supporters, like people that were out there would see the vote as well as like win both seats. It was a very like forward thinking discussion, but I think it's important that, you know, with so few people down here in Georgia, it's important that all canvassers stay connected and find best practices now that we're in Get Out to Vote.
Love it.
I would agree and say, yeah, that like hour-long Zoom call was something that I will absolutely rewatch. I think that was a really effective way to hear people's best practices, to standardize at least a very sparse amount of what our base approach is, to make sure that anything that happens at the doors is not reflected poorly on anyone who could be possibly connected to us. And one of the things we like to say in our trainings is, you know, behave as if you're being recorded, because you are. You're almost always on camera, but even if you're not, anyone could watch and remember like, oh, that's what it was like when canvassers came to my door. That's what it means to organize. So making sure that we're all connected was really effective, and I hope it definitely carries forward. Yeah, as Catherine said, humanity first. Great note.
Our next person up is Rachel.
Hi, Tully. This is Rachel from HF Georgia.
Rachel.
I've been hearing about everything you guys have been doing, and hearing more about it today is even more inspiring. I'm so excited. I would love for us to work even more closely together. And we definitely want to write about you guys in our newsletter this week. If you have any particular stories that we could feature, we wanted to do that. But one thing I wanted to bring up when you're talking about how we need to focus on talking to conservatives, I know that that's a particular passion of people in the Yang Gang, and I would never want to discourage that. But I think if we look at it by the numbers, what it comes down to in Georgia is turning out Democratic voters, especially if we follow in the model of what Stacey Abrams did with Fair Fight for the presidential election. Georgia actually is a blue state now. So it all comes down to turnout, in my opinion. So I still think that strategically focusing on Democratic voters is the place to go. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So I heard two things from you, Rachel, or maybe three. One was like, would love to connect, and absolutely agree. I think we're like in touch in all the channels. But there's a number of ways that we can connect. And yes, let's follow up. We're trying to stay closely connected with HF Georgia because we think that it's important for, you know, solidarity in the movement, sticking together. I also heard that you were mentioning the newsletter, and we had a news story. We had some reporters come to an event that we launched yesterday morning that had 47 canvassers, which is a massive canvassing party. They hit 3,200 doors in one day, which is phenomenal. And then the third thing is kind of concerned being data driven and who we should focus on. Is it a voter turnout game? Is it a conservative outreach game? And in my mind, Rachel, we're the math movement. We are 100% on board with being data driven and going straight to the numbers. So I would love to look at the numbers that you're referring to, and assess this together. I am not one for making sort of knee-jerk, taking emotional positions. My feeling, however, with this is that I think we kind of have to do both. And my calculus for this, again, let's dive into the numbers. That's what I think is always where you should start for decision making. But it seems to me that although we narrowly flipped Georgia blue this year, I don't think we have the numbers because, again, it's a 27% drop off in Democratic voter turnout for runoff elections, whereas conservatives are much more consistent. So while I know it's the case that energy is very well spent working to turn out Georgia voters, it seems to me that there's also going to need to be some conservative outreach because I think we just don't have the numbers. That's my feeling. We had the impetus of Donald Trump bringing out the vote in November. We don't have that anymore. And so, dozens of millions of dollars are being spent and doors are being knocked everywhere. But the number that I'm looking at, again, is a 27% drop off. I don't know off the top of my head what the conservative drop off rate is, but it's significantly lower. And so I think that we got to do both. But I'm all for, going and looking at the numbers and finding where we can have the biggest possible impact.
Awesome. Thank you. There's a hand up from Boyd.
Hold on, Megan, can I give her a chance to follow up on that at all?
I didn't even,
Yeah,
I'm so
sure.
used to.
So I guess I'm thinking it's like, okay, so there's a 27% drop off. If you need to make up that 27% somehow, it's more straightforward and like it's a one-step process to get a Democratic voter to go out, and it's like a two-step process to get a conservative, because like their first step is going to be not to vote at all. Then their next step as a conservative would be to actually vote for a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
To make up the 27%, it's more straightforward to get the Democrat to go out than to convince the conservative to switch parties.
I hear that, but there's also, diminishing marginal returns, and we're there in the flesh, like in person every day. And I think Colleen can probably speak better to this. There's a lot of interactions where you talk with people and they say, yeah, I already voted early on the 14th, or like, what have you been hearing on the doors? And by the way, Rachel, I'm not like digging in my heels and arguing with you. Yeah. Again, I defer to the numbers. I just think the numbers, it's not linear. At a certain point, it starts to look a little bit more like pushing on a string. And we are seeing a little bit of that on the doors themselves. There's a diminishing returns at a certain point.
Yeah, I would just say that it is this strategy that won the presidential election in Georgia for the Democrats. Yeah, by I know, and but
I hear you. I mean, if you're on the same page with me that we want to be data driven, I would say again, like let's look at the numbers, because there is a diminishing marginal return, and based on that, at a certain point, you may actually reach parity, where the productivity of having people on conservative doors exceeds the productivity of going and reaching out to Democratic voters. Okay. I think the logic there, I think the premises are pretty solid. The question is where, at what point do you reach parity? Mm-hmm. I think, I don't have an emotional attachment to like one conclusion. I'm not the type to sort of form a conclusion and pull together the evidence to support it. But there's no but. Let's look at the numbers. Let's discuss it. But let's just keep in mind that there is some amount of diminishing returns, and at a certain point, it does become worth it. And that we've been getting the same line from the Ossoff and Warnock campaigns, and I'm not one to accept received wisdoms. I want to look at the data and investigate and be skeptical.
Another great person to talk to is Antonio Lewis. If you were on the call, it was probably a few weeks ago to a month ago. He's a grassroots organizer in Atlanta, and he is really familiar with the data and the numbers on voting in Georgia. And he's an experienced organizer. I think you guys would definitely get along.
Who is this?
Antonio Lewis with Organize to Mobilize.
Sounds good. Would love to connect. And to be clear, Rachel, that is what we're doing. Is right now we're focusing exclusively on Democratic turnout. That's what we've been doing because that is what initially the calculus suggests.
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's not all linear. It's not like
you raise an interesting point for sure.
yeah. So are there other questions or?
Yes. I just want to double check. We did hit our like typical 9:30 ending time, which we never actually end by, but I want to double check how you are on time. If you're good to take a few more questions, Tully and Colleen.
Yeah.
Cool. So up next is Boyce.
Hey guys, I got a question for Tully and the whole crew there. What's your guys' fundraising goal to keep you there for another week? Like what's your week-to-week requirements for funding to keep the mansion going?
Right. So for the 3 mansions upcoming, we need to hit 15,000, and so far we've raised about 8,000. So we definitely do need more funding. And yeah, any help would be appreciated in terms of posting links and circulating that. What I can tell you with pretty good confidence is there's hardly anybody who's stretching a dollar further than our organization. We have a shoestring budget, and we're launching canvassers other than just ourselves. Every single day we activate several more volunteers in the community. So in terms of doors knocked and per dollar raised, it's hard to beat. And that's why we went to Columbus initially. It's because the cost of living is lower in Columbus than it is in Atlanta. And we anticipated Atlanta would be somewhat saturated. And we've been sort of proven right. We've heard a lot of reports of canvassers going and knocking doors and seeing that there were 2 flyers already at the door. Whereas in Columbus, again, the 3rd largest city in Georgia, there was nothing there. We were it. We became the point person. We set up this little operation, and we became like the center of gravity for all activities, all outreach activities for the entire city. So yeah, please donate. We need another $1,000.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to Richard Ojeda with the No Dems Left Behind, and maybe over in South Carolina, I just talked to Jermaine Johnson about this too. Maybe we can do a big fundraiser on maybe between Christmas and New Year, when people are just settled, the dust is settled on the holidays, maybe, and see if we can do a small fundraiser, see if we can get that 7,000 mark hit and get this thing funded fully for the 3 weeks. And because I can't make it because of my job, I'm a healthcare worker. I can't leave now. I'm under a modified quarantine, so I'm just seeing patients coming home because I have active COVID patients. So I was gonna try and make myself down there. So I'm gonna try and find a way of maybe just helping from a distance and just fundraising. And
yes, absolutely. It's greatly appreciated. You can post, you can retweet, you can attest to the work that we're doing. It all really helps. And we have links on our Twitter for both recruitment and fundraising efforts. But it's, especially with the fundraising, we would love some help.
Yeah, and to pick up with what Tully was saying about how the impact we're having, that we are activating, it's not just us 10 canvassers, we are activating and bringing out new canvassers. That's been the difference with this canvassing. The asks we're going to are if people know about the voting, which in many cases, the Democrats on the list, they've known about their voting, they've already voted, but there's still a reason we're at their door because we want to know if they want a yard sign because of that, what that does. And then we ask if they want to volunteer with us. So we are growing the Columbus, active Democrat base there. We have people who volunteer with us to canvass, who volunteer with us to phone bank, to schedule people to canvass. And it's just getting people more pulled in and plugged in with the process. I went to one neighborhood and this woman was on her porch doing some work on her laptop. It was a sunny day, and I came, talked to her about the steps. She wanted a yard sign, and then I was going to the next house, and she stood up from her porch and she's like, "Hey, why not can we start now with canvassing? So she's like, I don't really know my neighbors yet. I just kind of moved here. So it's like, okay, come on, volunteer, let's go canvass. So we canvassed her neighborhood together right then and there. And you saw the pictures from the slideshow, the slides that Megan flipped through earlier. And she was the art teacher who, after we'd gone for some walks around the block, she told me she and her roommate were art teachers and they did like sip and paint classes. And so they offered if we wanted to, like, as a movement, she asked like, yeah, what do you guys do for fun? So they came over to our house and we arranged, we could paint whatever we wanted to paint. Yeah, we had a paint night.
I will note from a COVID perspective, that was after 4 of our guests had left. So it was a smaller house, a lot of space. We're taking the virus extremely seriously. We know that it's deadly. But yeah, we did have this, and it was this event, and it was beautiful. And that's local engagement and local organizing at its finest. Bringing people to get involved in their own fight.
Hey, Tully, what about if we organize a live stream fundraiser while you guys are out canvassing with you guys on the street? You know what I mean?
We would love that. That would be fantastic, boys.
Actually, Boyce, if I can interrupt, something that was going on that we were doing with activating new volunteers was we actually got a pretty well-known YouTuber named Destiny to come down and bring some of his supporters. We had people flying out from California just to come knock on doors with us in Georgia. And this was, it wasn't covered as much as I'd like it to have been covered, but I think we were kind of discussing about having someone live stream next time we do something like that. I think it might be happening again soon. If it does, and you'd like to help out with getting something organized with someone live streaming that, we'd love for that to happen.
Yeah, I can just send you guys a link. Anyone that's on the street can get the link. Like, you guys have a little group text, we can send it to you guys. Anyone, any moment, while I live stream for like 2, 3, 4 hours. I don't care.
Yeah,
I got nothing to do afterwards.
Usually I just give out my number like hotcakes, but for this, you could reach out to us over DM at Math Movement MVMT, MATH MVMT on Twitter. You can reach out if anybody has any thoughts, questions. We would love to chat with you, and we're pretty responsive.
Sounds like fun.
Next in the queue, we have Catherine and then Jeffrey.
Hey, I just wanted to ask, the doors you're knocking, is it 100% like from minivan list provided by OSAF campaign, or is it a mix?
Yeah, and so the lists are coming from the coordinated campaign, which they're working in coordination actually with the Georgia Democratic Party. And it is virtually all minivan right now. And it is the sort of the campaign's approach to just focus on Democratic voter turnout. Hopefully it works.
And thank you, Catherine. And Jeffrey, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, I had 2 actually. The first was just like, are y'all reaching out to Blackman's campaign or like doing anything with them? Daniel Blackman was kind of one question I had.
Can you speak to that? I think that we connected with them at some point, correct?
No, I can't say anything about that.
Okay. So this is one of the beautiful things about the Math Mansion. For example, it's Sunday, correct? Yeah, Sunday. This morning, we launched a canvas with, 35, 40 people. Yesterday, 47 people, and I had nothing to do with it. People ask me questions like, where should I go? And I'm like, I don't know. Talk to Darian and Talia. They're the organizers on the ground. So it's very distributed in terms of the decision-making and the work that's done. So I'm confident that yes, we have done something in coordination with the Blackman campaign, but I don't know what. And somebody does know that. But that's a good thing. That's a really good thing, because it means that you're not just dependent on like one leader or one point person to get shit done. We were in the business of creating new leaders and new organizers that could engage the grassroots and field opportunities as they came. And there's like 5 at least different stories where organizers who are staying at our house like just heard about something through the daily interactions, and we're like, oh my God, this is a great organizing opportunity. So yeah, I mean, the canvassing launches that we've been doing with this community of YouTubers and streamers is a great example. It just so happened that somebody at our house belonged to one of those communities, and they're like, hey, they want to come out to Georgia, they need some help. Maybe we can help them out. And we're like, yeah, contact them. Let's see if we can help them launch their canvas parties. And we did. So we're very, distributed in that sense. Everybody's a leader. One of the mottos was from the local Atlanta rapper Russ, fuck it, I'll do it myself. And everybody has been taking that mentality. And I think if more people take the fuck it, I'll do it myself mentality, then we're going to start winning a whole hell of a lot of races around the country.
I know this wasn't the question, but just like another example of what we've been doing as organizers is there was this massive event. We did not organize. It was when Andrew Yang was coming to speak to hold a rally in Columbus. And it was the local Democratic, county Democrats that organized it and set up the tables and the COVID protocol, structure of it, and set up the press box and everything there. And then we all get in, we're getting our temperature checked to see if we have COVID symptoms, if we could stay or go. And the head of the local county Democratic Party had a fever, so she was out. So we ran the event.
The whole event. We just jumped in and we're like, okay, we'll take care of everything.
Yeah, we had Max, who's done a lot of our video and social media. He was doing the COVID precaution table and just screening everybody coming through. I was going around with the clipboards, getting volunteer signups. Who got into the press box?
Oh, Aaron. Yeah, one of our people got into the press box and started filming. It's amazing. Moral of the story is donate to the Math Movement. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good moral.
I got one more. I know there's a lot of areas right around those 3 houses y'all were saying, specifically the counties to the left of Augusta and the counties below Columbus. And also in Savannah, there's a little suburban area. Like we know kind of it's common to think about Atlanta's suburban area, but there's this suburban area called Richmond Hill, I believe it's Richmond Hills. I have some friends that live around there. In Savannah, will y'all be going out of those cities to those other areas where Democrats are on some days, or are y'all just going to stay in the city limits? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to cover as much territory as we possibly can. And the way we focus on doing that is activating as many volunteers. I mean, we're out there. We try to knock as many doors as we can for each of us every single day. But what we're the sort of KPI or key performance indicator that we're focused on is how many people can we activate to come work with us? Because now you're talking about multiplying the possible effect that you could have. So if it's not us, then hopefully it's people that we have activated going out there and knocking doors and covering as much turf as possible.
All right, that's perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And I think we're coming up on 9:45. So I think our final question for the night, and then we'll convert into a hang. So conversation can abound there, but we'll go off the live stream. But our final question will be from James.
Hi, Tully. Thanks so much for introducing the Math Mansion and letting us know about your initiative. I was wondering, for those of us who are interested in joining the Math Mansion, should we just go through the application on your website? And also, if we know others from out of state who are interested, do you have a rough idea of how many slots will be available?
Yeah, yes. So if you're interested, go to Math Movement. That's mvmt.org/canvas and put in an application. And we will get back to you as quickly as we can. It's usually within 48 hours and within 24 hours at this point. And I think that we still have something like 6 to 10 spots still open for the post-Christmas final push. So yes, absolutely sign up, bring your friends, recruit your friends, especially if they're Yang Gang.
Your sound went off, Tully. Is that just me?
No, it's not just you.
Okay, it's not just me.
Yeah,
Tully,
I'm not
Colleen,
hearing
your
either.
sound went
No.
away.
Whoops, yeah.
Make sure the
Oh,
source
no.
on the bottom left is the correct source.
Yeah, it looks
And
like
when
your
it's
whole audio system disconnected. I only see the camera logo next to you, not the mic. I don't know what. Did you write on that? We don't know. It looks like your audio disconnected from Zoom, Tully. I don't know what the fix is. If anybody like knows what that means in Zoom and has a suggestion on a fix, please jump in because I'm not the most coordinated. Someone's saying rejoin, so maybe go out and come back in. Off right at the end. It was almost like clean, smooth sailing all the way through. Give them a minute to come back in.
Hey, can I jump in for a second?
Go for it. I was about to say, anybody got anything interesting to say while we wait?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that dropped their lives for this shit and showed up and knocked on doors in Georgia where it doesn't, it's not your community, but you're still trying to help. And that's a huge thing. I wish I could be there, but I'm just thankful for everybody's been there, especially that people that have been there from the start. Like Rachel, I know has been hardcore in the Georgia Yang Gang and others that are down there that I've done meetings in the past with for like Barrington and stuff like that, where this is why we've done this for so long. Now we've got like this opportunity to prove to the country that we show up, we can get shit done. And I think this is very important that Andrew's down there, you guys are down there. And if we can, this is a big flex, let's be real. And so if we can make this happen, man, it's just 2022 is going to be a really good run for us as far as our candidates moving forward, like Erica Roge and Reverend Wendy and whoever else decides they want to throw the hat in the ring and make a difference. So I just want to say thank you to you guys that are down there. I'm going to try and do a fundraiser and help any way I can from Michigan. I just want to say thank you guys. That's it.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you. It looks like, are you back on, Tully? I think I see you. I also see a cat. Hooray. Tully, Colleen, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Audible.
All right, cool. Yeah, we can hear you now. You're good.
Okay. We
Voice was
said
just
thank you
giving a
so
nice
much,
thank you to
Voice.
everybody in Georgia. Yeah. Wait, did your sound just go away again?
Did ours?
Oh no, we can't hear you. So you cut out like mid your previous answer, so I don't know if you want to go back and finish what you were saying when the sound cut off.
I don't know when that was.
I think not too far in.
What was the subject?
James, do you want to re-ask that question
this
that they were
question?
answering?
Sorry, what was that question?
Oh, I was just wondering, roughly like how many slots in the Math Mansion are available in the next week. But I think you answered that part already.
Yeah, it's like 8, give or take 2. Yep.
Awesome. And I did just see another chat or a question in the chat about from I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly, Waco, but asked if Yang Gang Big Island wants to donate funds to help, can they just do it at that donate link? Or is that just for like individuals, I guess is the question. Are there any limitations to that donate link?
If what?
Like if
Said
the
Ying Long Island.
the
Oh.
Hawaii Yang Gang wants to donate, can they just go through that link? Are there any limitations to that donate link?
No, no
Or just
limitations.
anybody?
Please do. Please do. We need to raise $7,000. Any help from our comrades at HFM, greatly appreciated.
All right. Thank you. Do you want to, so I think, we've gotten through all of our questions. So we'll transfer into a hang, but do you want to give any final words while we're on the live stream, Tully and Colleen?
I just want to thank you for your time and thank everybody for a really fun conversation. And I'm really excited to working with everybody here to build the movement. There's one kind of last thing I'll plug, which is just solidarity. We always said at the house, sometimes people had differences of opinions on things. And whenever that happened, I said, hey, look, this is 5 fingers on a hand. They're stronger together. And so we have to stick together as a movement. We are still a very small, very young movement. And I know that there's so much diversity and we got to stick together if we're going to be as strong and influential as possible. But yeah, thank you for your interest and support for what Math Movement has been up to. We promise that if you send money our way, we will put it to the best possible use. We are penny pinchers to the bone, and we want to make the biggest possible impact. So yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, you guys, I'm having the time of my life here. You really should come. I mean, it's the holiday break. What really do you have that's better to do? My family understands why I'm not going home for the holidays. They're cheering me on. Like Talia was coming for a week. She stayed for almost 3. I was coming for 2 weeks. I'm making it 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got my mail mailed to me. I just got my driver's license mailed to me. I can't even get back on a plane until I get my ID back. So yeah, I'm sticking around for the long haul. And it's because it's hella fun. You should be here for it. And we've had nobody at all say, go back home, COVID super spreaders. Like everybody is so grateful that canvassers are here getting out the vote and doing the work, because there aren't enough Georgians who are available to volunteer and be on the pavement. They're, people have jobs and have kids and have, elderly people they're taking care of or can't leave their house. Mostly, I meet a lot of seniors who really, really care about this, but they're, for COVID safety, they're not going to leave their house. Glad to have young people doing it for them. So be a hero. Come on.
Come
people
have fun.
love the canvassers. We're like,
yeah.
We
get a lot of love there. Come have fun with us safely. We will safely have fun together. Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tully and the Math Movement, Math Mansion canvassers. It's a pleasure having you. And I'm going to close out the live stream. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are viewing this. Thanks for joining. And we'll see you. Our next one will be in 2 weeks on January 3rd. So January 3rd, look for the next Sunday Night Live.
Thank you so much, Megan. Bye.
Thank you. Oh.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, back to work.
In the live stream yet?